Good morning. Welcome to Leadership Tuesday with Coach Ellis. Hey, so this is the day where I talk to emerging, existing, and exiting leaders about principles that will help them be better leaders. And of course, remember that leadership is not a right, it's a privilege. We earn the right to lead, whether you are there by position or by prowess. You earn the right to lead. So here's a tip today. Coach was in a class yesterday. In fact, I'm in this class all week long about operational art, operational design. Really, it's about strategic planning and decision making. And one of the principles brought up was we have to learn to make decisions beyond our biases. I said, what a concept, because most of us, many of us, our biases are what drives our decision making. And if we're not careful, we will allow our biases to lead us to a decision that seems right to us, but may not be right for the organization we lead. So let's briefly talk about biases. Now, biases are not prejudices, and there's a difference. In a prejudice, you prejudge based upon some small sample size activities of a person or a group of people or an incident. Prejudice is prejudging something. Biases is the lens in which you see life. They may be influenced by your prejudices, but they're certainly influenced by other things. Perhaps, well, not perhaps, but definitely influenced by things like who your parents were, what type of relationship they had, how you saw leadership engaged, and how you saw leadership displayed when you were growing up in your formative years. Maybe you had a bad boss. You have experience, so your history, your experiences, your education, what you watch on TV, the music you listen to, all of these things, the church you go to, the people you date, the friends you hang out with, all of these things help shape your lens in which you view life. I was in a conversation with some leaders the other day about a recent development on the national stage. And these great Americans, these great leaders, these great men and women who like each other, sometimes even love each other, were at different places of this argument. And in this discussion, they were passionate, they were well-reasoned, they were educated, they had the conversations in a way that it wasn't simply emotional. Well, they were emotional about this, but it was garnered with academic research and reason. And these individuals could not agree. How is it possible you can see the same research, see this, experience the same things, and have vastly different interpretations? It is because of your biases. You can only see life through the lens in which you see life. So, when it comes to making a decision for an organization, the organization, a living organism, is not you, the leader. Just because you're at the head does not mean it's all encompassing of you. So when we make strategic decisions that will last well past our tenure, then we have to have an opportunity to divorce ourselves from our biases. Now, how do you do that? I'm glad you asked me. So here's how you do that. First of all, it is not possible to divorce yourself from your biases. What you have to do is recognize them and account for them. And here's how you account for them. You account for them by identifying what they are at various spectrums, whether personal, whether professional, whether academic, whether they're religious, are they from experience, are they from education? You identify these biases. And most of us are not introspective enough, not reflective enough to take an honest assessment of our biases. So we need people who we trust, who will say, hey, coach, that's a great thought, but that's how a coach would think. That's how you think as a coach. As a teacher, I think differently. I see it differently. That helps me identify my bias. I'm biased to think that coaching solves all the world's problems. And sometimes it's counseling. Sometimes it's mentoring. Sometimes it's teaching. But I'm predisposed, I'm biased to believe, because of my lens of life, that coaching solves it all. So when I take into account my bias and my biases, and I take into account the biases of those who are inputting into the system, into the decision, we make a concerted, practical, on-purpose effort to see things from other vantage points. Because it's possible, just maybe, that the millennial in the conversation with a bunch of Gen Xers and baby boomers might have an idea that we had never thought about. It's possible that in a group of millennials who have their own biases, that a baby boomer might say something that might be old-fashioned but applicable to their discussion. And if we are run by our biases and filter out conversations by our biases, we miss the golden nuggets of information and the nuggets of knowledge and the nuggets of wisdom that come from various places in this discussion. So, as a leader, I've had to learn to allow others to express themselves in the way they express themselves. Not take it personally when they disagree with me, and understand that not everyone shares my point of view. Here's one Crummanism that I live by. Just because they don't do it the way I would, just because they don't think the way I think, because they don't process the way I process, does not make it wrong. It makes it simply different. And the diversity of thoughts, the diversity of ideas, the diversity of experiences, the diversity of lenses to view life through aid us in making a better decision for most people in the long term. So, I just want to encourage you. Learn your biases. Learn how to filter through them. Learn how to mitigate them when making strategic decisions. Now, if I don't have any time, it's just I got 5 minutes to make a decision, I'm not going to do a lot of that filtering. It's going to be the way I need it to be. But for strategic thinking, which is long-term planning, then yes, absolutely, filter out the biases by having those transformational conversations. Hey, I'm Coach Ellis. You can reach me at coach@elliscrum.net, or you can reach me at Facebook at Coach Ellis. I want to say hi to everybody who's watching. Good morning there, and have a great One-Tablets Leadership Day. We'll see you next week on Leadership Tips Tuesday with Coach Ellis.